Scandal at Ferrari. F1's most iconic team is in crisis just before the 2025 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Is Hamilton not adapting? Is Leclerc frustrated? Does the new floor really work? Today I'll tell you everything they haven't told you. This goes far beyond what you imagine. Ferrari entered the 2025 season with the pressure on. They were coming off a competitive 2024 season, bordering on the Constructors' Championship until the final race. Everything pointed to this being the defining year, with the arrival of Lewis Hamilton as a star signing, bringing experience, a hunger for victory, and new energy to the Maranello pit box. But just a few races into the season, the reality is very different from the dream. The start to the year has been chaotic. McLaren has surprised with its brutal consistency. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri command the championship lead, while Mercedes, lacking brilliance, remains a tough nut to crack. And Ferrari is struggling to maintain its lead. Charles Leclerc is 5th in the championship with 32 points. Hamilton is 7th with 25. For a team that was vying for the title, these numbers are cold, hard, and worrying. But the real blow came in China. Hamilton achieved what seemed like a turning point. His first victory with Ferrari, albeit in a sprint format. However, that joy was short-lived. In the main race, Ferrari was disqualified with both cars for a technical infraction. The team not only lost key points, but also part of its credibility. It was a brutal reminder of how far they still are from the perfection required by modern Formula One. Bahrain offered some respite, but with nuances. Leclerc qualified well thanks to a penalty for Russell, and the race pace was decent. They even achieved similar times to Piastri's. However, the strategy didn't work. They opted for medium tires while almost everyone started on soft tires. And the safety car ended up ruining that move. Another result that could have been much better but remained a promise. Beyond the results, the internal atmosphere is complex. There's a sense of frustration at not converting potential into results. Media pressure is mounting and expectations are relentless. Hamilton's signing was supposed to be a step forward, but it has also generated noise, especially compared to Leclerc's steady performance. The team's internal balance, so delicate, is under scrutiny. Ferrari isn't just competing against McLaren and Mercedes. It's competing against its own history, against its reputation, against the demands of millions of fans who don't accept excuses. Every failure, every strategic error, every point lost, is another blow to a team that has gone too long without a title. And the most dangerous thing is that the competition is no longer waiting. It's moving away. Ferrari knew it couldn't wait any longer. The first races of the 2025 season showed an irregular, inconsistent SF25, unable to adapt to different types of track. The feeling was clear. The car had potential, but something about its behavior made it unpredictable. Therefore, in a strategic move, the team decided to bring forward its most ambitious update package. What was planned for Miami arrived in Bahrain. It was not a decision taken lightly. Bringing forward such a complex aerodynamic evolution involves logistical risks, accelerated technical adaptation, and very little margin for error. But Ferrari was on the ropes. They needed answers, they needed a reaction. The focus of development was on the SF25's floor. Not just any part, but the foundation that defines how the entire car behaves. In the era of ground effect, this area is key. Ferrari redesigned the leading edges of the floor, adjusted the Venturi channels, and redesigned the diffuser. The objective was twofold: to increase downforce and expand the performance window, that is, to make the car perform under more conditions and with greater consistency. But this evolution wasn't just a numerical improvement. It was a philosophical reconfiguration. The new floor was designed to modify the distribution of the center of aerodynamic pressure, aligning it more closely with the car's center of mass. This adjustment allows downforce to be distributed more efficiently throughout the lap, resulting in a more predictable and stable car, especially in fast corners. Furthermore, the design is also intended to combat an old enemy: porpoising, the aerodynamic bouncing that so affected the cars in 2022. With this new structure, Ferrari seeks to smooth out pressure transitions under the car, reducing the instability that had so plagued its drivers in the first Grand Prix of the year. According to Paolo Felicetti, one of the paddock's most respected technical analysts, this development represents a turning point. It's not just a marginal improvement, but a tool to redefine the SF25's behavior. If it performs as expected, it could make the difference in an extremely tight season. And while the results in Bahrain didn't fully reveal the potential, there were clear signs. In the second stint of the race, Leclerc matched the pace of Piastri, the race leader. It was one of the first indications that the new surface wasn't just theory on paper, but real-world performance on track. However, this aerodynamic improvement isn't a guarantee. The Bahrain circuit has very different characteristics from Jeddah. And the big question is whether this new surface can also adapt to the challenges of the Saudi Arabian layout, a high-speed street circuit, demanding on brakes, traction, and thermal management. Ferrari will have to adjust its setup, adapt the car's cooling to temperatures of up to 35 degrees, and find the right balance between downforce and efficiency. The surface is new, so is the ambition. But results are still not enough. In Formula One, every detail counts. And Ferrari knows this better than anyone. The miraculous surface could be the key, or simply another chapter in a story of unmet expectations. From his first contact with the SF25, Hamilton faced an unexpected obstacle: the incompatibility between his driving style and the demands of the Italian car. The car, designed with a different philosophy, required immediate adjustments. Adjustments that, until now, have not been easy to assimilate for a driver who, for more than a decade, tailored each car to his needs at Mercedes. Hamilton has spoken honestly about his adaptation process. His statements in Bahrain reflect the complexity of the challenge. He stated that, for the first time, he was experimenting with techniques that were completely new to him. He explained how he had never before used engine braking to help reduce the car's speed, a common practice at Ferrari, but completely alien to his experience at Mercedes. That detail alone symbolizes the profound change he is facing. Furthermore, the SF25's electronic language, the use of the steering wheel, the engine setup, and the energy management, is completely different. It's not just a matter of how you feel on the track, but also how you interact with the car at every turn, every braking point, every lap. Adapting to that internal logic when you've been programmed with another one for more than 10 years is no easy task. The result of this disconnect was evident. Hamilton was uncomfortable, lacking confidence, and far from the limit. In qualifying, where precision and understanding with the car are vital, he fell behind. In race pace, he was more competitive, but still not enough to compete on equal terms with the leaders. However, something changed in Bahrain. For the first time, Hamilton finished a race with a genuine smile. Despite starting 9th, he managed to climb back to 5th, showing a more solid, more consistent pace. By his own admission, he learned more that weekend than in all the previous races. It was the beginning of a change in mentality. He stopped waiting for the car to adapt to him. Now he's the one who's willing to adapt to the car. This change is no small matter. It speaks of maturity but also of urgency. Hamilton understands that time is not on his side. Every race in which he doesn't perform at his best is a missed opportunity. And Ferrari can't afford to wait too long. The team needs results. It needs leadership. And above all, it needs its most high-profile and ambitious venture to start bearing fruit. Fred Vasseur, the team principal, has been clear. The adaptation process is mutual. Ferrari will do everything possible to make things easier for Hamilton, but also expects the driver to play his part. So far, the relationship between the two has been constructive. But if results don't arrive soon, that mutual patience could be tested. Hamilton is in jeopardy. Not because of his talent, which no one disputes, but because of the mental, technical, and emotional challenge of competing with Ferrari. Never before has he been so far out of his comfort zone. And perhaps, right there, is where his last great battle begins. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix isn't just another event on the calendar. It's one of the most extreme challenges any team faces in the Formula One season. The Jeddah Street Circuit, with its 6,174 meters of length, high-speed corners, unforgiving walls, and scorching weather conditions, has earned a reputation as one of the most demanding and dangerous on the calendar. And for Ferrari, it comes at the worst possible time. With temperatures approaching 35 degrees Celsius and an even more stifling wind chill, the car's thermal management becomes critical. It's not just about controlling engine or brake temperatures, but also finding the right cooling setup without compromising aerodynamic efficiency. Any mistake in this balance can result in overheating, loss of performance, and premature tire degradation. Pirelli has already announced a major strategic shift in compound selection for this race, seeking greater resistance to thermal damage. This decision could benefit teams like Ferrari, provided they manage to position the tires in the correct operating window, something that has been a recurring challenge during the first races of the year. But the challenge isn't just technical, it's mental. The Jeddah circuit forces drivers to maintain absolute concentration for more than 300 kilometers. A tiny error, a small loss of control in a high-speed corner, can end in tragedy. And Ferrari can't afford a single mistake. For Charles Leclerc, this circuit represents an opportunity. The Monégasque driver has proven that over one lap, he is one of the fastest drivers in the world. If he can find the right balance and nail the qualifying, he could put himself in an ideal position for the race, on a track where overtaking is complex and track position is almost everything. But when it comes to pressure, the focus is on Lewis Hamilton. The Briton has held the race lap record at Jeddah since 2021. He knows the circuit. He's mastered it before. But doing so with Ferrari will be a completely different story. This is where it will truly be known whether the evolution of the SF25 and its adaptation process have borne tangible fruit. In terms of car setup, Ferrari will have to make key decisions. The new surface introduced in Bahrain offers a potential advantage in fast corners, but Jeddah is a track that demands very precise tuning. The choice of downforce level will be decisive. If they opt for low load to gain top speed on the straights, they could suffer in the midfield. If they choose high load for greater stability, they could lose ground to McLaren or Red Bull on the long home straight. And then their strategy. In Bahrain, Ferrari dared to buck the trend. While almost everyone else was on soft tires, they opted for mediums. A risky move that was neutralized by the appearance of the safety car. But it was a clear sign that the team is willing to play with tactics, to take risks. At a circuit like Jeddah, where incidents are frequent and safety cars are common, a bold strategy can be the difference between the podium and irrelevance. Jeddah is unforgiving. And Ferrari has no margin for error. If the Maranello team wants to get back into the championship fight, this race could mark the turning point. Or it could confirm that, once again, the title dream is slipping away from them prematurely. The result in Saudi Arabia won't just be a reflection of pure speed. It will be the mirror in which Ferrari, Hamilton, and Leclerc will see their true situation. And perhaps also their destiny. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix isn't the end, but it could set the course for the rest of the championship. For Ferrari, it's not just about scoring points. It's about regaining authority, validating technical decisions, consolidating the direction of the project, and above all, demonstrating that the dream of returning to the top isn't an illusion, but a plan in progress. The SF25's new floor has shown encouraging signs, but it's still not enough. It's a foundation, a hope, not a guarantee. Hamilton's adaptation is progressing, but not at the speed many expected. Leclerc is still fast, still qualifying at the front, but he needs equipment that allows him to stay there for the entire race. The difference between being on the podium and finishing outside the top 5 is minimal. And in this context of maximum competitiveness, every detail matters. McLaren and Mercedes aren't going to give ground. Red Bull, despite its internal turmoil, remains a permanent threat. Formula One in 2025 is a war of millimeters. And Ferrari today isn't leading that battle. Saudi Arabia represents the possibility of starting to close that gap. But if they fail here, if the new ground doesn't respond, if the strategy becomes erratic again, if Hamilton and Leclerc don't find the perfect synchronicity, the risk is that they'll start to lose more than just positions. They'll start to lose faith. Fred Vasseur has made it clear that there are no magic solutions, that this is a process, that calm is necessary. But he also knows that Formula One doesn't wait, that results matter, and that this weekend in Jeddah may be remembered, in time, as the moment Ferrari decided the fate of its season. Not all is lost, but there's no room for further failure either. Technical evolution is on the table. The driver's talent is beyond question, nor is the team's commitment. Only one thing is missing, for all of this to finally translate into a resounding result. Saudi Arabia, more than a race, is a statement. And Ferrari needs to speak.